This is the Church of St. Paul in the Desert.
In the name of God, amen. Peace. Somebody at the 8 o'clock service said, "Why are all the hymns Advent hymns today?" Well, just saying. In some parts of the Anglican Communion, this is actually known as pre-Advent. But we are coming to the end of the church year, and we begin to hear about the end things. The term eschatology sounds very formal. What does it mean? It means, in fact, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, as the part of theology concerned with death, judgment, and the final destiny of the soul and of humankind. Big mouthful, but it's one of those things that asks us the question, are we ready? Are we ready? Now, years ago, and as a football fan, I remember this, when Monday Night Football began, it always began with the question, are you ready for some football? And everybody got excited, etc. But the question that it begs in our lessons today is, are we ready to meet our Maker? We begin with Amos, the angry prophet par excellence. Snakes and bears and tigers, and why do you have festivals? And no, I'm not going to take any of your gifts. And on and on and on he goes. Amos. But again, hadn't even had the first coming when Amos writes and speaks to the people. And we get hooked there a lot. We forget about the hope that is within us, that we say every week. And we get caught in that drear and doom, and there is no hope, and death is awful, and we go down that path. Then we have Paul writing to the church in Thessalonica. And it is probably, for the Christian community, one of the statements about death we need to hear and be reminded of. Because, in fact, there is something beyond. But we get hooked into that place, and we talk about death being bad, and the end, and all of that sort of thing. It's bad for those of us left behind more often than not, our sense of loss, and we grieve, and it's uncomfortable. But in fact, as Christians, it is the heavenly banquet, of which this is a foretaste, this meal we share week after week. It is a foretaste of the heavenly banquet. Some of you may remember Robert Farrar Capon, an Episcopal priest who wrote a great deal, used food analogies a lot in his descriptive work. And he had this to say in a book called The Parable of Judgment. "Watch, therefore," Jesus says at the end of the parable, "for you know neither the day nor the hour. When all is said and done, when we have scared ourselves silly with the now or never urgency of faith and the once and always finality of judgment, we need to take a deep breath and let it out with a laugh. Because what we are watching for is a party. And the party is not just down the street making up its mind when to come to us. It is already hiding in our basement, banging on the steam pipes and laughing its way up our cellar stairs. The unknown day and hour of its finally bursting into the kitchen and roistering its way through the whole house is not dreadful. It is all part of the divine lark of grace, God is not our mother-in-law coming to see whether her wedding present china has been chipped. Do we not go down that path a lot? God's going to get us. It's going to be bad. He is a funny old uncle with a salami under one arm and a bottle of wine under the other. We do indeed need to watch for him, but only because it would be such a pity to miss all the fun. Now, what came to mind to me in reading that was the image from Mary Poppins. Now, I read the book a long time ago. Most of you have probably seen the movie more than once. But there is that wonderful scene where Mary takes the children to meet her wonderful Uncle Albert Wig. And they walk into the apartment, and they can't see him. They don't know where he is, but they hear this laughter emanating from a table up in the ceiling. Well, it's contagious. And the children laugh, and they are escorted up to that party. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're waiting for. That is ultimately the heavenly banquet. And that is the hope that is within us. It doesn't end, as so many of us get caught with. We are promised that banquet, and that is our inheritance. So the question remains, are we ready? Have we done all the justice and righteousness and lived the lives that God has called us to live? Or are we going to get around to it? That's one of our things that we do. We get around to things. But the banquet is there and waiting for